Bloody Elbow presents the 6th Round Post-Fight Show, which gives you a rundown and full analysis of the bouts that took place on this weekend's UFC event.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 6th Round Post-Fight Show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host, as always, Eddie Mercado. We're here once again talking about this week's UFC 240 card that went down in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Max Holloway retaining the featherweight title over Frankie Edgar. Cris Cyborg breezing past Felicia Spencer despite being gassed on the verge of death just a minute into the first round. Eddie, god damn it, Eddie.
Too many Eds circling around on this damn night. What's going on?
Too many Eds. We'll cut an Ed. I'll just call him Frankie from now on.
I like
Eddie.
that.
How impressed were you with Cyborg's ability to claw herself back from the brink of death to take a narrow decision over Felicia Spencer?
I thought it was great. I thought it showed a lot of heart and determination and will, and I don't think she was really that freaking gassed.
No. Joe Rogan was on some serious shit that fight. Like,
it was the whole night. He was just really sucking the Spencer D for some reason. And I get it. He's in Canada and she's Canadian, and in case she won, start building up this prospect, but come on, Rogan. He wasn't calling this one down the middle, I don't think.
In the second round, she landed one strike for the first 3.5 minutes. And Rogan was like, "Oh my God, Cyborg is so tired. Can you believe how gassed she looks? She's breathing deep. She's taking," and then Spencer pulls guard, and it's Rogan's like, "God damn, what is up with me?" Rogan is just like, "Oh my God, now they're in the grappling battle. Can Cyborg keep up with her on the ground?" It's she pulled guard. You can't pull guard on Cris Cyborg.
It's crazy. It was a weird calling, that's for sure. And in the third round, Cyborg's just pouring on this volume, and Anik's "Yeah, Cyborg's definitely still going strong here in the third." Just trying not to just be Rogan, you're obviously on some strong shit that Eddie Bravo gave you. And that's cool, but, tone it down a little bit, brah.
Because it did start, in the first fight of the night, Rogan was, talking fast and, just getting off in weird tangents. It may have... I think he just started the night buzzing on something.
Yeah, it was an off night. But everyone has off nights, so... Yeah.
And whatever that shit was, I want some, because that's 6-hour high he was carrying.
Or he was just re-upping throughout.
Yeah. He's just there shooting up next to Anik in the booth.
Oh no.
No, he'd do it right. Go the Goldie style and take all the bathroom breaks.
Oh man. Wet Myman. Yeah, that's anyways, enough about that. Let's get on to Max, man, because he had a return to form here, and that was great to see.
Yeah, he pieced Edgar up. He worked well behind his jab. And unfortunately for Edgar, he just didn't, I think, start fast enough. Holloway is going to give you a little wiggle room early as he's trying to find his timing. He's going to work the 1-2. It's going to be a little predictable. And that's when you got to go after him and get on him, Especially if you've got a gas tank like Edgar, you're not going to fade down the stretch. You've got the ability to pour it on. And Edgar just kind of was "Oh, okay, I'll feel out this first round too." And maybe he even won the first round, but he didn't establish any kind of wrestling offense or any kind of game that Holloway had to respect. And over the rest of the fight, it was just all about Holloway's jab getting more and more established, and then all the offense that came behind it.
Yeah, I mean, he came out throwing his volume, but he was just landing at a real low percentage. And that's because Holloway was doing a great job of fighting long and not allowing Edgar to smother him. And, with Frankie forced to fight from so far away, and, Max was doing a great job of staying composed and sniping and sitting back and being selective. He wasn't really trying to brawl. And, that combination really made the takedowns tough to set up for Edgar. He wasn't getting close enough to where he can even, get off on a good entry.
Yeah. And you got to give respect to how incredibly good Holloway looked at fighting off all the different single leg setups. Because Edgar did get in on I think it was over the course of the night, he got in on 13 takedown attempts and only completed one of them.
Yeah, and did nothing with the one he did get.
Yeah,
absolutely nothing with it. I don't know. I also got the feeling that Max could have turned it up at any moment. Because when he did, or when Frankie would land something substantial or crack one of those leg kicks that were really effective, Holloway would get upset and be like, okay, here's this jab, hard right hand, jab, overhand right, and connect. And it's like, man, like if Holloway just kept doing that, he could probably put Edgar away. But he was fighting really smart and being selective. And after, getting pieced up by Poirier in his last fight, I get it. Like, I understand.
I mean, this is a very composed kind of championship performance from Holloway, of the understanding, like, the belt, owning the belt is the most valuable thing that you can ever have in your career. Is to own that belt. It is all the leverage you'll have. It is everything in order to build a legacy. You put together a long title run. People talk, no matter how interesting you are or not interesting, if you put together a long enough title run, people will slowly come around. The belt is what does it, and that means fighting a fairly safe and consistent style. There aren't many fighters.
Mayweather made a very successful career out of that.
Well, yeah, and you look at like Jose Aldo, you look at GSP, who was a killer on the way up, and then he gets Titletown, he loses it once to Matt Serra, and the rest of his career, he's just like, maybe I should just kind of calm this shit down and cool all these dudes off and not just try to make sure I don't lose this thing again.
Yeah.
So
he looked great. And remember we were talking how Alexander Hernandez took that ass whooping from Cowboy and he came back like extra reserved to the point where it was a fault almost.
Yep.
This is the like how you take your ass whooping and you come back just way better.
Yep. Just
better. Like you are more calculated, you are more reserved, but you still turn it on when you need to. And Holloway did just that. He did what he needed to. He didn't do anything extra. He didn't take any unnecessary risks. And he is the 145 GOAT.
Yeah.
And the dude hasn't lost at 45 since McGregor back in 2013.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's a hell of a run. And, it's too bad for him that he lost that Dustin Poirier fight. But that was also just that was an epic all-time great fight. So,
yes.
You can't really hold that against him up a division. And
you credit him for that. His stock went up for that.
Yeah. And this is just a very good, very solid win for Max Holloway here. Beat Frankie Edgar, keeps the belt lined up now. You got, Volkanovski's waiting in the wings to be next in line. It's too bad. I don't know that they can get that fight together in time for the upcoming Melbourne card, but hopefully Holloway's ready to go again before too long, and we can get that fight without Volkanovski having to wait forever on the sidelines.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like he didn't take a lot of damage in this fight, which is a great thing.
Definitely. There was no point in this bout that Edgar seemed like he hurt Holloway. So it's 5 rounds. That still means that there's a chance that, a small bone could be broken or a ligament could be torn or some random little bit of damage that suddenly keeps him sidelined for like 6 months. But at least just judging by what we saw in the fight alone, Holloway could be ready to go again quick. And as he said, he's talking like, I could take a fight at heavyweight next month. I could fight DC next month.
And that's the thing. Conor McGregor weighed in on this matchup. You know what I mean? And he only does that if there's some potential future matchup for him. And if he can come back and fight Holloway, who knows? That could be a potential fight. Maybe Volkanovski would be next. Maybe
it would be a very cool fight to make. Still, Conor's got to get those. He's got charges he's got to clear still. We still don't know what's going on there.
Man, this seems so regular now.
I know. unfortunately. Still, great, solid win for Holloway. Keeps him, he's got a challenge. He's got challenges waiting. Maybe there's a fight with Edgar or with Jesus. Why do I keep saying Edgar? Like my brain is.
Have you been reading Edgar Allan Poe lately?
You know what I think it is? I think I got a contact high through my keyboard from listening to Joe Rogan, like a contact high through my speakers.
Oh, yeah, that has to be. You're on that Eddie Bravo special, man.
Yeah, man. Like I am just tripping on a whole new wavelength, a whole new interdimensional plane.
Man.
And
well, shoot, I'm still running off a crazy adrenaline rush. I jumped out of an airplane this morning, and that was like the craziest thing I've ever experienced, and I'm still high off it.
Did you heist some money, or did you actually, just do that?
Just decided to go up and do it just for shits and giggles, bucket list kind of thing.
Well,
you should do it if you haven't.
I'm thoroughly impressed. All right, that brings us to a bucket list of a fight for Felicia Spencer. She got in there with Cris Cyborg, went 3 hard rounds. Joe Rogan went nuts. And Spencer
Joe Rogan thought it was a 5-rounder the whole time.
I know.
He had a bad night.
Spencer got outstruck 4-1, 3-1.
Round.
Just like a wash. I can't believe it was a 30-27. This is the whole Cyborg Holm thing all over again, where judges gave Holm 2 out of 5 rounds. It's just what? Is the desire to see her lose and the incredibleness of seeing anybody have any success so deep with Cyborg that everybody just loses their goddamn minds when she fights? I don't know what it is, but
I know that John Anik even went out and said, "Hey, this is likely a 10-8 round here in round 3 for Cyborg."
Yeah,
but nah.
Cyborg landed 53 of 96 strikes in the 3rd round.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. It was it was an ass whipping. And good on Spencer for taking the fight. Good on her for being in there. She's tough as shit, and that will serve her well. I don't know if there's a lot of other women at 145 that are going to hang with her in the future. But this was not a close fight.
It wasn't. She started really strong, and she was game throughout.
Yeah.
And showed a bunch of heart and a bunch of toughness. But yeah, she was just outgunned completely and had no way to dish out any real damage outside of those elbows, which were really slick and really slicing up Cyborg. By the end of that fight, that cut grew to be really substantial, pushing 4 inches. Yeah. So she is capable of dishing out some damage, but yeah, when she started pulling guard, that's definitely a bad sign. It's she's completely bailing on her wrestling, completely bailing on the clinch. And there was a moment in between rounds when it might have been between 2 and 3, where her corner was like, "Try some flying shit if you see it there." Fuck it. It's oh my goodness. I wouldn't wow.
Yeah, they weren't ready. That's a sign of a team that just wasn't ready. Yeah. She wasn't ready. Her coaches weren't ready. Nobody was ready. And that's fine. She's a young fighter, but it also is what it is. It's just too bad, too, that, this is the note we most likely see Cyborg ride off on. It does not, even post-fight, I almost thought that she was just going to skip the post-fight interview altogether and make her coach do it. When Rogan was like, "Oh, I'm here with Cris Cyborg." Jason Perillo's like, "No, you're here with me, Jason Perillo." And I was like, she's just going to snub this whole thing? But, he's asking her, "Oh, are you afraid to fight Amanda Nunes?" And she's like, "No, I'd fight Amanda Nunes, but the UFC can talk to my manager." And, I'm only hearing, she's gone, She's going to go do other shit.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird place to be.
Yeah.
I would love for her to retire on a win.
Yeah.
I don't want to see her get knocked out again.
True. I think unfortunately the most likely thing is that she's going to go try and box. The weird thing is that she's already trained a lot with Claressa Shields, and that's the boxing fight to set up out there as like a super fight pay-per-view kind of thing?
Man, I don't even know. Is she a big enough draw to where she can sell a boxing event?
I mean, in the world of women's, like compared to the world of women's boxing, sure. Like, she's a bigger draw than almost any other opponent in the pro boxing world at that weight, you know?
Where is she contractually with the UFC? Do you know?
This is the end of her contract. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
oh shit.
That's why this is, there's a lot of speculation out there. This is the end of her contract. The UFC's already like putting out this, Cyborg's afraid to fight Amanda Nunes. That's why she's not going to re-sign with us. That's why, they're trying to lower her value, keep her from going on free agency. And I get the feeling Cyborg is also just like done. She just isn't interested in being with the UFC anymore.
I wonder if that was part of Rogan's angle on pushing hard for Spencer.
I gotta feel like it might have been, honestly. It felt like he was calling a fight of like, we're really pushing the angle that Cyborg is now washed up, win or lose. We don't really need to see her anymore.
Yeah, that's not what I saw. Cyborg,
no.
Really, she put the stamp on this chick.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting because, obviously, too, there's like Julia Budd over in Bellator
And you know what's funny? Like watching this, I'm like, man, Felicia Spencer is like a kind of like a not as good version of Julia Budd.
Yeah.
And then it's like, damn, that fight could actually happen now. Cyborg and Julia Budd, which I would love to see that.
I think it might even be more likely maybe that we see like Cyborg over in Ryzen, like Cyborg versus King Reina or something, Or
like just freak show fighter.
Yeah.
Put her in there against Grandma. Put her in there, just give her pro wrestlers.
Yeah. Something like that just makes her money. I just get the feeling Cyborg's out there looking for like big super fights that she can take a few paydays home before retiring.
And I'm so down for that.
Yeah. Be interesting. And it's also interesting, like, what the hell is the UFC going to do with Spencer now? She's a legitimately decent fighter who needs some build-up, but they've got, like, 4 fighters in that division, I
don't know. You'll probably hear Rogan start talking about her cutting weight. They were talking about Frankie going down to 35.
I know. Like, early in the evening, Rogan's talking about, like, how, it's like, hey, DC's talking, DC said some really smart shit about how old fighters who drop in weight just look desperate. By the end of the evening, is like, hey, Frankie, you want to go to 135? Everybody thinks you should do it.
Yeah. I just don't know.
Anyway, that brings us down to a welterweight bout. Geoff Neal, Niko Price was drawn up on paper as a banger, and it was a banger.
Yeah, this fight was great. This was so much fun. Mm-hmm. And, Price got the fight that he wanted.
Yep.
But, like, the same thing that wins him fights is the same thing that loses him fights. And that's his wildness.
Yep.
Like,
dude is a wild motherfucker.
Dude, he wildly jumped on that guillotine just because it was there and, like, the natural progression of the scramble.
Yep.
But, like, that doesn't make it the right move in the moment. And he never got back to his feet until the fight was over.
Yeah. And it was, I know he was contesting the stoppage, but I was watching that like live and I'm like, he's going in and out of consciousness a lot right here. The ref really was fine stepping in on that.
Yeah, it was a great stoppage. All credit to Neal. Like, he allowed the fight to get away from him a bit, but he managed to reel it back in, settle down, get in a dominant position and just get Niko Price out of there.
And I think it's one of those things, too. I liked what he said post-fight, which is like just a good little bit of insight into the differences between what you're thinking watching a fight and what's going on in the fighter's head during the fight. And he was just like, Price was really hard to hit. And at some point, I felt like I just got to go in there and scrap with this guy if I'm going to land shots,
Mm-hmm.
I've got to make this fight more of a dogfight. I've got to give him the fight he wants so I can land something. And it worked.
It did work. It was a dangerous fight.
But yeah, very.
It was fun and it was exciting, and it's what was advertised. The best moment of the night for me personally was this fight. Like, this was all fireworks.
Yeah.
And Neal's looking really good, man. 12-2, 6-fight winning streak, 4 of them occurring within the UFC, which is great, and all but one of them ending inside the distance. So this dude's a killer, and I need to see him against another killer like Niko Price, but like a more technical killer, like a Vicente Luque.
There are like 5 fights right now that I think he could get reasonably, and 3 of them would be surefire great fights. Like, if they just want to book him against somebody who's free right now, he could fight like Warlley Alves or I don't know, like Michael Chiesa. But otherwise, you got Perry versus Luque coming up, Li Jinglong versus Zaleski coming up, and Thiago Alves versus Gunnar Nelson coming up. And any of the winners of any of those fights versus Geoff Neal, I would be 1,000% there for.
Yeah, someone on Twitter mentioned Niko Price needs to fight Mike Perry. And that's pure violence, and that needs to happen. They should take Luque out of that and put him against Neal, and then book Price and Perry together.
Yeah. Price Perry, Geoff Neal, Vicente Luque. That would be absolutely great. Just seeing 2, Geoff Neal won performance of the night on the strength of that win, with fight of the night going to Figueredo Pantoja, and the other performance of the night going to Hakeem Dawodu. Yeah,
I'm totally okay with that. I think those are all good. The Dawodu fight was a cool stoppage, but if it was probably the earliest stoppage of the night. True.
But it was also like, I mean, it was one of only 3 or 4 finishes on the card, so I can kind of see why I got performance of the night. Maybe Gavin Tucker deserved it a little more, honestly. Like,
I think Robertson deserved it more. Like,
Jillian Robertson
did.
Yeah.
Like, that was a strong performer. She came out and went into Frodo's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And did her thing. Like, that really impressed me. I'm a little upset she got snubbed, actually.
Yeah, early prelims, it's always hard to get. It's hard to get the bonuses.
Yeah.
So, before Geoff Neal, Niko Price, we got a lightweight bout. Arman Tsarukyan beating Olivier Aubin-Mercier. Tough loss for OAM, man. You could see he was really feeling the emotions after dropping this one. I think he felt like he should have been better than this.
Yeah, that's 3 straight tough losses for him. And he came in and he was supposed to be like a really talented grappler, but it's almost as if he never further developed that area.
Yeah.
And he like just relied on what he had and then started learning striking, which he has a lot of damaging strikes. Those knees he was landing were dangerous and hurting Tsarukyan, but they're just not consistent, and he doesn't really set them up. He throws them naked, like one at a time. He doesn't really set them up a lot. And yeah, he's just, I don't know. He needs a change. I don't know if he needs to switch camps, or I don't know what he needs. A sports psychologist, maybe. Maybe this is a mental thing, but he is losing fights. He's dropping rounds consistently.
Yeah. And it's tough too, because it's, like, it's one thing to drop rounds to Gilbert Burns, where it's just like, okay, I get that you don't want to go to the ground and grapple with this dude because he's an excellent grappler, and you're stuck now in a kickboxing match, which is not your specialty.
Yeah.
But Hernandez and Tsarukyan, like, these are young, kind of green fighters who are just coming out with, like, pace and wrestling and a willingness to go after it. And it's been enough.
Yeah. He just didn't have answers. He just couldn't get Tsarukyan off of him. And that's crazy.
On the flip side,
like,
though,
doesn't he have like a judo background?
Yeah, he's got a judo background. He's a black belt in judo, and, with jiu-jitsu brown belt and some taekwondo in there as well.
And like, he's got the physique. That's why I think it's a mental thing. That's why I think the sports psychologist might be the thing he needs, because like he has a great camp. It's like on paper he's got everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. It's not clicking for whatever reason.
Yeah. On the flip side, though, this for Tsarukyan, it kind of proves like being a hair off Islam Makhachev was not just a fluky performance or like, okay, yeah, you competed really well with that guy, but any veteran is actually just going to beat you because your game's not complete. Came out and he punished Aubin-Mercier, just put him through just as hard a fight, and the fact that Aubin-Mercier couldn't keep up was all the difference.
And the dude's 22 years old.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Really freaky talent, honestly.
It's insane. Like he's already beaten guys of an OAM.
Yep.
Like that's really insane. Like what's next for this guy?
I mean, he has to fight Alexander Hernandez, right?
You would think.
Yeah.
He beat OAM.
I got to see it. 2 close fights against Aubin-Mercier, 2 high-energy wrestlers who can throw some hands, and especially after Hernandez's last performance where he just looked really flat against Trinaldo, I'm willing to see him against some other hot prospect looking to make a name, you know?
Yeah, Hernandez is really going to have to break out that old aggression that he put away for his last fight. But yeah, I'm definitely down with that. Man, 22 years old. I just can't get over that, man.
Yep.
That's insane to be at this level and like Rogan was really on point by pointing out that this dude really doesn't have a lot of weaknesses.
No.
Like his biggest weakness is just inexperience, like being 22.
Yep.
That's his biggest downfall.
Yeah.
Like even like in the 3rd round, he was listening to his corner. They were telling him when to go and when to dump his gas tank, and he was listening.
Yep.
Like, it was really good to see.
And, part of that, too, I think, is also that he's kind of going, he's doing kind of the old school thing and what's becoming more the new school thing, which is he's a 5'7" lightweight. Like, I think he's just not cutting that much weight,
Wow, and that's awesome, especially usually the younger you are, the more weight you're cutting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look at Daniel Cormier.
Yep. I think it's especially like with him when you got this really bullish, high energy style, you're going to do a lot of wrestling. You're trying to throw power and scare guys off and just stay on them and stay in their face and stay aggressive. Being a guy being in a place where you also feel like you're not going to gas out is a great place to be, Yeah,
his motor is phenomenal. Only 22 years old.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. This is definitely one of the top prospects at lightweight.
Definitely.
For sure.
Great performance, and wouldn't be surprised if he's not ranked after this fight. I won't be surprised if he's nipping at a ranking after, like if he gets a ranked opponent, like I say, love to see him against Hernandez, or he could even, they could even match him up with Francisco Trinaldo. Like, I think he's ready for those kinds of bigger, like, veteran fights. Tough dudes in this division. He's already shown he can compete with 2 pretty seasoned, well-rounded, physically gifted veteran fighters, where it's not just like, you hung with, like I say, you hung with Islam Makhachev, but another veteran who's got a little more physicality to him is going to beat you. And like, no, he's clearly got the basic tools to be a highly competitive lightweight already.
It blows my mind, man. It really does.
No kidding. Brings us to a middleweight bout. Krzysztof Jotko beat Marc-Andre Barrio, and little surprised that Barrio got a card, honestly. It was not a great fight by any means, but I kind of felt like Jotko just generally outworked him.
Yeah, this was a real grueling clinch war. Lots of jockeying for position, lots of neutralizing, lots of like short shots inside. And it took forever for the scorecards to come in. So there was something weird going on with that.
Yeah.
Anytime it takes a long time, anytime the commentators are commenting on how long it's taken for the cards to come in, something's not right here. But yeah, Jotko, man, he was trying his damnedest. Like, he did his very best. Mm-hmm. He's a Jotko of all trades. Like, he's just not great at anything, but damn it, he is good enough to compete everywhere.
Yep.
And it won him this fight.
Yeah, it's one of those things, too, where you look at the SIG strikes on paper, 40-39, you can see razor close, should be a razor close fight. But you look at the total strikes, it's 98 to 62 for Jotko.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, he was just busier every round. Just, even if he wasn't that effective in a fight where there was a ton of neutralizing and control, he was just a little busier all the time.
Yeah. He was the one doing more. Like, they would clinch up. As soon as they clinch up, he's the one landing a knee to the body.
Yep.
Whereas, the other dude's not. He's more working to clinch and land like a power elbow if he can get that separation. But Jotko wasn't having it. He was doing a great job of staying in close when he was there, getting his knees in when he could, and not getting knocked out in open space.
Kind of a tough run for Barrio, though, who kind of lost his way forward, where it's like, oh, you lost to Andrew Sanchez, here's a tougher opponent,
Yeah, some people fail forward, and it doesn't always work out well. But, what do you do with him, though?
Well, I mean, there's still a big middleweight division there for him to try to climb up. He could always, go way back down and fight, I don't know, like the Wellington Termans and Adam Yandievs of the world, or I'd like to see him against Bevan Lewis. There are some middleweights at the bottom clinging and looking for their own first wins in that division. Just stop sticking him in with seasoned vets.
Yeah, this is great experience for him, though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out in his next fight and just catches a body. Like you said, give him someone who's just really on the come up, not anywhere. Like, back-to-back ranked guys, or Jotko used to be ranked. He was ranked number 10 at one point in the world. Sanchez.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Sanchez was ever ranked, was he?
No,
he was close.
Sanchez was never ranked. Jotko had a 15 spot for a few weeks before he kind of dropped it with those string of losses.
Yeah, that's pretty decent talent.
Yeah. Go back, fight somebody lower down the ranks. That brings us, though, to the undercard and a women's flyweight bout. Vivi Araujo, Alexis Davis, and this is the flip side. Araujo also she won her debut, but then is taking a huge step forward against Alexis Davis here. And honestly, just put together a really, really solid performance considering the massive experience gulf that she just tried to cover.
Yeah, she made the most of her attributes.
Yep.
And, she threw explosive leaping punches in the beginning of the rounds, doing a ton of damage, and then just kind of spent the rest of the round being gassed and surviving.
Yep.
And it worked, It's a tough style to win with, but it was effective.
I mean, she's young and inexperienced. I think it was definitely it's a tough style to win with, but it's also hopefully a style that she can look at this fight and this can be a learning win, where it's just like, oh, I barely scraped that one out. I really need to be more composed.
Yeah, and just it's the exploding. She explodes so much that she can't help but just burn out.
Yep.
But it's fun. It's definitely fun. Like, Davis was eating some shots, and credit to her for having a chin on her. But she was looking like Evan Tanner by the end of the fight. Shout out to the late Evan Tanner.
Oh, yeah.
But it was pretty bad. It was kind of tough to watch.
Of course, on the thing with that for Araujo is, though, she beating Alexis Davis, it's almost certain that her next fight is going to be a tough out. I'd like to see the UFC, maybe just kind of let her tread water a little, face the winner of Lauren Murphy, Mara Romero Barella, but she could easily be suddenly facing like the winner of Joanne Calderwood versus Andrea Lee next, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true too. I'm curious to see how they'll play her.
Yeah.
She's fun. Like, she's definitely fun to watch. Anyone throwing that kind of heat, I'm definitely trying to watch. I don't know. Maybe throw in there with Modafferi. Why not? Like, who's a better test for a prospect than Roxanne?
I mean, Modafferi definitely has. She's been working on her clinch offense a lot. I think she's probably a bit more aggressive right now than Davis is when she got top position. But it'd make for an interesting fight. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Modafferi is more dangerous than Davis, just all around on the ground. If she
right now, I think so. Yeah. Once upon a time, Alexis Davis was a pretty great grappling threat, but more and more lately, it's just not. It seems like it's coming together.
Well, she's a pioneer. She's she's from the old school. No, the fact that she's still around and like Carmouche is still around, that's some cool shit.
No, yeah, Davis has been going at this for 12 years now, and she's still hanging tough. She it kind of sucks for Davis because it really, I think, just comes down to physicality and damage these days. Because you look at her last 3 fights, and she's outlanded her opponents in all of them, and they're all losses.
Yeah, because she's not landing the damaging strikes.
Yep.
But, it is what it is. She's just tough and can throw some volume.
She's staying tough in there, but it's hard. It's taken now kind of step back losses where each loss is just a little less, notable than the one before it. Chikagian, Maya, now Araujo.
Which is really on par for someone with as many fights as her.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought she was going to retire.
Yeah.
I kind of got that feeling like she was gonna hang it up after this, but
everybody was saying the same thing about Frankie too. But he's grabbing that mic in tears, and he's just like, "I'm not done," Yeah.
I mean? Anytime they talk to the loser after a main event, I get that feeling.
Yeah.
Stop interviewing the losers.
Yeah, I mean, but that's why you interview the losers, because maybe you get that big moment. Maybe you get that
great. There's nothing more I love than watching Conor McGregor lose.
True.
Him on the mic after a loss is like the most inspiring thing ever. He turns into like a who's that Tony Robbins guy or whatever. Like he's Gary Vaynerchuk after.
Considering all the allegations out there against Tony Robbins, I think that maybe hits a little too on the nose.
The parallels. Anyways.
Oh man. All right, before Araujo Davis, we got Hakeem Dawodu, Yoshinori Horii, and good, careful building performance from Dawodu. Like, he started slow. I think Horii confused him a lot early, just with his movement, and with Dawodu's kind of, really liking to try and play that counter game in tight, where he wants to just barely slip and answer back with something, and Horii, being a decent counterpuncher himself, caught Dawodu a lot early. But once Dawodu got the timing down, he really took this fight over.
Yeah. It was a mixture of him getting the timing and Horii slowing the fuck down.
Yeah.
Like, he started really strong and he was moving great, but that pace just isn't sustainable. And yes, he did knock down Dawodu twice in the opening round, but those drops looked way worse than they actually were.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how much actual damage was done there. I think it was a lot of off balance kind of slips.
I think it was enough to surprise Dawodu and make him second guess just opening up, because, like you say, Horii in part slowed down, but he landed more punches in every round going forward.
Even the third?
Yeah, he landed 15 strikes in round 3, 13 in round 2, 11 in round 1.
Okay, nice.
But Dawodu landed 14 in the first, 22 in the second, and 44 in the third.
Oh yeah, he just once he started to pour it on like that. The third round, I mean, it got pretty.
Yeah,
Dawodu finally started opening up and being the striker we know that he is. And like that's kind of the knock, or at least my knock, because I've been following him since his WSOF days.
Yeah,
and like I just feel like his striking never really translated. Like he wasn't really a devastating striker for whatever reason. It just wasn't. It didn't come over to MMA.
Yeah,
but the third round I saw was what I was hoping to see out of him. The kind of performance that I know he's capable of, but just hasn't really shown up.
Yeah.
And that was great. He went savage, just beautiful technique, like just beautiful, like textbook technique that you would teach anyone that wants to learn Muay Thai. Like, oh, look at this. This is how you kickbox. And
oh, sorry.
No, I mean, he put the stamp on this dude, and like it was a weird stoppage. It could have been stopped before it was stopped.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad it was stopped because it was only going to get worse. But like it was almost like that Aspen Ladd stoppage where GDR just clocked her and she just kind of sat there all confused. Like very, very similar to that, but more justified, I'll say.
Oh yeah, way more justified. I mean, you can't, deep into the third round when a dude is clearly taking a beating is a lot more justified than the first 16 seconds of a fight when somebody, by all means, gets hit really hard. But maybe could have bounced back, maybe.
Yeah, but it was good to see. And I like that it ended on kind of a walk-off head kick, even if it was a TKO and not a KO. The savage in me wants to see the blood in the KO unconscious, but, excellent show for Dawodu.
To Dawodu's credit, talking about how his skills translated, like that loss to Danny Henry stung like shit because Henry is not nearly as technical a striker as he is.
Yeah.
But every other fight out there for Dawodu since, he has doubled or tripled up on his opponent in significant strikes landed. Like, he really is a fantastic, accurate, reasonably defensively sound volume striker. It's just... It's for him, it really is a process of breaking people down. There's not that one-shot kill power in there. So, and he plays super close margins defensively. So he's going to have fights where even when he's dominating, they feel like they're not as dominant.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is.
He's just not as scary as he should be.
Yeah. For a dude who's tripling up on somebody in strikes landed, you're like, oh, somebody gave in his fight with Bokniak, somebody gave Bokniak a card. Like it was a split decision, and Hakeem Dawodu outlanded him 103-42.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, wow. There's some craziness out there in the judging world. That brings us to another great performance on the night, though. Gavin Tucker, Sungwoo Choi, and honestly, I didn't know that. I wasn't sure that Tucker had this kind of fight in him.
Yeah, you didn't think he could grit through some adversity like this?
I didn't really think so. No, like he came up crushing cans, kinda, and then he had a really easy, pretty like walk through fight against Sam Cecilia when Cecilia was on his skid.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see him in the fight against Rick Glenn, and he folded pretty quickly. And it's kind of one of those things where you're like, is it the can-crushing mentality where you're so used to just having no adversity at all that when adversity shows its head, you're just going to panic and everything's going to go sideways? But Choi put him through a hard fight, and Tucker came out ahead.
Yeah, it really almost got away from him. Like, he landed that illegal knee there in the second round, and then I think he got kneed in the balls or something like that, and he starts talking to the referee, and I'm like, oh no, here we go. This is going to be the unraveling. Like, he's already committing fouls. He got a point deducted. He took a low blow. Now he's talking to the ref. Like, this dude's head is everywhere but this fight.
Yeah. And Choi was getting the better of him just slightly out of range. Not by a big margin, but just slightly.
Yeah, and Choi, he shot himself in the foot, though.
Oh, yeah.
He was just too willing to take his dominant grappling positions instead of just breaking free and disengaging.
Yeah.
Like, he was just too willing to be like, oh, well, I got this dominant position. Let me just stick with this and see where this takes me. Oh, it takes me to a recessive position.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Tucker really showed off a decent wrestling ride, showed off some good scrambling ability. And Choi, I think, is just too used to fighting bad wrestlers, people who can't wrestle. So when he gets advantageous positions, he's just like, oh, well, I can just stick with this. This guy can't hang with me. And so they're like, no, actually, Tucker's been working, and he's been working on his wrestling a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely good to see, because I really thought he was losing it mentally, but he stuck to the plan. He found a submission because of it. And why was he gone for so long? Like, this is his first fight since 2017. What's that about?
Yeah, I think he's had some injuries. He tried to drop divisions too to 135. So I think he probably, like, after that horrible loss his last time out, you got to assume he tried to take some time, do some rebuilding, work on his way down to 135, and then he gets ready for a fight against Andre Sukumta in October of last year. And I think he picked up a pretty bad injury. And so it was just a long recovery back from that. And then the realization with that injury maybe that he's not going to make 135. And so he's back up here at 145.
Okay. Yeah, it was a good showing for him. A lot of positive takeaways.
Yeah. Seeing some toughness, some mental toughness out of him, and the ability to grit through and get a hard late win is definitely really good for a guy who, like I say, looked really dominant early in his career against bad competition, and then had one strong win to his name, and then a fight that he just horrifically got, flipped on its head, And
Rick Glenn's good.
Yeah, Rick Glenn is good. It's no doubt to Rick Glenn. Like, Rick Glenn isn't, not like Rick Glenn isn't good. It's just, it turned into such a shit kicking.
Yeah.
That brings us to the fight of the night. Almost definitely an awesome back and forth war, and a fight that should have been a lot higher up the card, quite frankly.
Oh, yeah.
Deiveson Figueredo, Alexandre Pantoja.
Well, actually, no, because this opened up the ESPN card, so that makes sense that they put this where they did.
Yeah, I'd like to see how much it actually. I'd like to know and get some hard data on how much it actually does for fighters to get opening spots on the TV card.
Nothing for the fighters. It's for the UFC. They want to put something exciting to kick off the card.
Yeah.
But honestly, that should have been on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, exactly. Put Tsarukyan Aubin-Mercier. Put Tsarukyan Aubin-Mercier on the prelims. That's a fun fight, back and forth. Figueredo Pantoja can be on the
terrible pay-per-view card on paper outside of the main and co-main.
Yeah. But awesome fight between Figueredo and Pantoja.
Yeah, this is great, dude. Great pace, great technique, great test of wills, tons of heart, power shots. We got blood. I mean, this was really awesome.
And I got to say, to me, too, really a confirmation of just how elite or borderline elite Deiveson Figueredo is. How close to being one of the best in the world he is.
Oh, yeah.
Because Pantoja, as a striker, coming into this fight, Pantoja was landing significant strikes at three times the clip that Figueredo was across their careers. And he was a decently regarded defensive striker. His striking defense was higher. It was 62% over Figueredo's as well. And Figueredo just absolutely outstruck him and traded power with him and just landed the harder, better shots at a better clip all night. A really fantastic, poised, elite performance from him on his feet.
Yeah, it was great. And he was just so powerful. Like his punches were really just snapping Pantoja's head back, busting him up. And Pantoja tried to work his ground game, but this is flyweight. You don't hold people down at flyweight. And yes, Formiga was able to hold down Figueredo at times at flyweight, but Formiga is an exception to the no holding down flyweight rule.
Yeah, so, and Figueredo, he talked about after that fight. I don't know how much credence you want to give it, but he said he was real injured going into that fight, basically, which could have impacted his performance. I wouldn't take anything from Figueredo away, or from Formiga away for it, but he was worlds better tonight, unquestionably.
Yeah, he looked great. He looked really great.
Yeah,
he looked scary.
Yeah,
he looked scary out there.
That's what I mean. This is a performance. This is the kind of core Joseph Benavidez kind of performance when Benavidez is really clicking. You're just like, dude, this fucker hits hard at 125 pounds. And it doesn't matter that you can maybe go shot for shot with him for a while, because it's going to hurt you a lot more than it hurts him.
Yeah, he is the John Lineker of flyweight.
Yeah, or the Yoel Romero is the comparison that I think that Connor and I like to draw a lot. Just that sort of weird, floaty, hands down. Doesn't really seem like he's pushing much of a pace, but when he hits you, you're just like, shit, that looked really hard.
Yeah, he just has that. He has a gift of making his opponents fly.
Yeah.
When he just touches them.
And he landed at 67% in that third round.
That's nuts.
27 of 40 significant strikes.
And it looked like it too. Pantoja was a mess.
Yeah. And of course, the fucking thing is, though, of course, they cut all the flyweights. They're bringing them back. Credit, they're bringing them back. But there's nobody for fucking Figueredo to fight right now.
Brandon Moreno.
Brandon Moreno's already booked, though.
Already?
Yeah, they brought in a Russian kid
yesterday. Who's he fighting?
He's fighting, what's this kid's name? It's Askarov. He's fighting Askarov in Mexico City. Yeah.
Okay.
So if Moreno wins, if Rogerio Bontorin wins, if Kai Kara France wins, one of those three wins the next bout, it's a fight Figueredo can take. But there really needs to be somebody poised right there at the top. Sergio Pettis is dropping back down to fight Alex Reyes at flyweight. And you really feel like you need a Sergio Pettis right there for Figueredo to fight right now.
Gosh, that would be great. Please make that fight.
Yeah.
Man, please make that fight. Because
Benavidez deserves his title shot. And that's the only other fight out there. That's the fight I really want to see Figueredo win right now. But Benavidez shouldn't take that fight.
Poor Benavidez, man. He's always in this spot.
Yeah.
He's like Mr. That spot. Mr. Bridesmaids.
Yep.
That sucks, man. I love Joey B.
Yeah. He's earned that next title shot. He already beat Cejudo once. He's earned the right to face him again, especially if Cejudo wants to go back to 125, which he said he did. And the UFC's saying, yeah, Joe B's got next. That's going on. We're going to make that happen. Joe B doesn't need to fight Davison Figueredo right now.
No.
But I want to see the shit out of that fight.
Yeah. Yeah. But the Pettis fight's just as good for me.
It is. They're just like I say, Pettis is already booked too. Well, he's just probably going to have to wait and see how flyweight shakes out in the next 6 months or so, honestly. It's too bad because I want to see, after a performance like this, I just want to have something right there waiting to be Figueredo, this guy right now. I need to see it.
Yeah, I guess we just have to celebrate the fact that the division's sticking around.
Yeah. That's good news. I'm glad the UFC finally climbed down on that and realized that there's no reason to get rid of perfectly good fighters. All right, before that bout, Jillian Robertson beat Sarah Frota. Really good performance from Robertson. Frota, I know they trumpet her BJJ. I know she's obviously not bad on the ground, but she's also not clearly not, like, what they're talking about her being like a national champion in jiu-jitsu, like, that can't be like a black belt national champion, can it? Because it doesn't look that way.
It did for like the first half of the first round.
Yeah, it looks like she's quite good at jiu-jitsu, but also
No,
just
she hit like those inverted triangles in that first round. Like that was some slick ass shit.
it was, but it also was not nearly as close to being a submission as Joe Rogan was ranting about.
Well, sure. I mean, he says everything's locked in.
I know.
But I mean, yeah, she was definitely executing some solid jiu-jitsu, but I think Robertson just wasn't buying it. And she was like, this is my game and this is what I'm going to do. And if you can stop it, cool, but I don't think you can.
Yeah. No, it wasn't Jacare out. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying Frota's bad at jiu-jitsu. I'm just saying that, like, you know, they're trying to trumpet her as like a Jillian Robertson wants none of this girl on the ground kind of jiu-jitsu champ. And that ain't it, you know?
Have you seen the meme floating around where it talks about modern day rappers and how they look like high school detention desks? I'm just asking. I
haven't, but now that you say it, I can't get that image out of my head.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. And I also made the joke on the vivisection that, like, you know, if MMA fighters are Pokemon, the way that they power up to the next level, the way they evolve is by getting more bad tattoos. And so, you know, Sarah Frota is just like the next Pokemon evolution of Priscilla Cachoeira.
Oh man, it's terrible.
I know. Not a nice thing to. It's not nice to be this big a jerk, but here I am.
I mean, it's right there with high school detention desk, so I can't.
It is.
But yeah, Robertson did her damn thing. She should have got a performance bonus. This was great. It was a ballsy yet calculated approach. Turns out she knew exactly what she was doing. She's better on the ground. This reminded me of the old, you take a black belt, you punch them in the face. They're a brown belt. Punch them in the face again. They're a blue belt. Yeah, Frota had no belt by the end of this one.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like to see prospects necessarily pick each other off, but the fight out there for Robertson right now, it might just be Macy Barber.
Yeah.
You know, like,
she's definitely on a tear. Like Robertson, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, like,
what's Montana De La Rosa doing?
She just came off of a rough loss to.
Oh, that's right. She got choked out, didn't she?
Yeah. Who did she just lose to now? She just lost to Andrea. No, she didn't get choked out. She just lost to Andrea Lee.
Okay.
In a decent back and forth fight, like you could make Montana De La Rosa versus Jillian Robertson. I'm always a fan of going winner, but in a division as young as this, with a lot of fighters just trying to find their way out there, there's no reason you can't do that fight.
Well, my only thing is, like, I know De La Rosa is an extremely willing grappler.
Yeah.
And I'm down for that. Watching Robertson and her just go at it to see who's who on the ground. I'm so down for that.
Definitely. Yeah, there are a few fun fights to make out there, especially, and there'll be other women getting wins too. I'm just trying to think about, you know, who in this division is free right now and where do you go with Robertson? Like, she's now 4-1 at women's flyweight.
You know what? You know who she could fight?
Who?
Araujo.
True.
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a hell of a good fight, right?
I'm so down for that. Such a clash of styles.
Mm-hmm. Araujo is very willing to pull guard and play guard when somebody comes in on a really hard takedown attempt. Like, she did well stuffing a lot of Davis's shots, but when Davis like really got in on one, Araujo was very much willing to just like stay on her back. That would be dangerous against Robertson.
Yeah, especially if she gets tired.
Yeah. All right, that brings us to the opening bout of the night. Eric Koch, Kyle Stewart. Not a pretty fight, but I think the fight Koch needed. Like, just go in and get a win.
Yeah, very, very smart fight for Koch. A real workmanlike performance. Like, no unnecessary risks. Strong veteran win. And like he came out looking strong, getting his strikes going, and then just was like, you know what? Let me switch gears, go to my grappling. And, you know, Stewart just didn't have answers for that.
Yep.
He's too green. He was just too green for someone as seasoned as an Eric Koch, who's been fighting since the WBC days.
I know. Koch made his WBC debut a decade ago.
That's bananas.
Yeah, right?
That's great. And he fought at featherweight, which is crazy.
Yep.
This is his welterweight debut.
And, you know, his corner was even telling him, like, the whole time, old school clinch. And you could see exactly what that meant. That meant, like, high body lock, trip takedowns, mash him into the fence. Don't worry about trying to, like, open up with strikes in there. Just focus on control and focusing on, like, making this fight ugly and wearing him down. And it worked.
Very Randy Couture-esque.
Yep.
That kind of just grind on people, make them carry your weight.
Yep.
Just make it ugly. Make them defend the whole time. It was a good win. But
yeah.
he really is on that GDR tip, though, fighting once a year.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, this is his first win since 2016 and only his fourth fight in the last 5 years. So.
And I'll be damned if he doesn't look like Anthony Pettis out there sometimes. Like,
yeah.
Just in his stance, like that Rufus Sport stance.
Yep.
And like they had like the same kind of build too. And like similar tattoos. A little culty.
Yeah, although he's not with Rufus Sport anymore, so.
It doesn't matter. That's his foundation.
It's true. I mean, he's got the exact same problem as Pettis, where when they're on the back foot and their opponent's coming after him, the defense just goes away. Like, anytime Stewart could get him backing towards the cage, he just crushed him with right hands. So,
yeah,
it really forced, like, that clinch game was smart. It's like, don't get caught backing up to somebody who just wants to wade forward and throw power at you. Go forward, get in the clinch. Don't let them dictate the pace of the fight.
Yes, very smart for Koch, which is good to see. And like you were saying, just not exciting.
No. That brings us all the way back up to the main event, though, and Max Holloway fighting a very smart fight over Frankie Edgar. He's got another challenger set up in the wings. And, you know, not the kind of performance that's going to thrill the shit out of people, but also the kind of strong championship performance that builds a legacy, builds a long-term resume that people point at and say, no, this guy's incredibly good.
Yeah. Having Frankie Edgar on that resume, on your list of victims, is a must-have if you want to be elite. Yeah.
I mean, he's now got 2 wins over Jose Aldo, win over Brian Ortega, win over Frankie Edgar, and that Anthony Pettis win, like, you know, with Pettis bouncing back to beat Wonder Boy and Chiesa in the past couple of years, looks a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go back to like Cole Miller to find someone that really wasn't like an elite top tier title contending kind of fighter.
Yep.
Max he's insane, man. It's wild.
Yeah,
I just hope he gets all the money in the world because he really is. He is the greatest featherweight on the planet right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I hope that he makes this work for him. I hope he leans into it. I hope he takes the popularity, sets himself up, gets a business going, gets, you know, whatever else out there he needs. Jose Aldo's got his hamburgers. Maybe we can get like Max in on some
Hawaiian pizza.
What's Loco Moco? That's where I'm talking. Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like fried rice with like hamburger on it and gravy on top and an egg.
All right.
Some traditional Hawaiian like breakfast food.
It sounds delicious.
Anyway, on that note, we should wrap things up. We're getting a little off topic, and I'm getting hungry. You can find me over on Twitter at Zane Simon. You can find Eddie on Twitter at Eddie Mercado. You can find both of us over at BloodyElbow.com. Give us a like, subscribe to our podcast feeds. Bloody Elbow Presents on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all that good stuff. If you can find the Mookie Crookie Show, Level Change Podcast, Vivisection, If I Did It, Care Don't Care. All that good stuff we do week in, week out. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we will be back for UFC on ESPN, Covington versus Lawler next week.
Thank you for listening to this Bloody Elbow Presents production. If you want to check out more of our content, hop over to the MMA-Nation SoundCloud and iTunes pages, as well as our YouTube channel, simply titled Bloody Elbow Presents, and we're now available on Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Blueberry, Overcast, Player FM, and more. Just look for Bloody Elbow Presents, MMA Nation, or MMA-Nation for brand new shows 7 days a week, including the 6th Round Post-Fight Show, the Mookie and Crookie Show, If I Did It, the MMA Vivisection, the Level Change Podcast, the Pull No Punches Podcast, and much more. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at Bloody Elbow, on Facebook at facebook.com/BloodyElbowBlog, and of course on BloodyElbow.com.